Hi everyone, George Vasquez. Welcome to this webinar about Power Apps and Microsoft Flow. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. And if you have any questions, you can use the instant messaging window. And at the end of the session, we'll do an open mic. We can ask some questions live on air. We are recording this session. So if you could please remain muted and just reserve your questions to the end. Now, before we get started, just quickly introduce Triad. We at Triad, we deliver consultancy and solutions to our client base in the UK. Very focused on working with clients to help them deliver benefits from their investments in technology. We have offices in Milton Keynes and in Godalming as well. Today we'll be talking about Power Apps and Flow, but obviously that's not all Triad focuses on. We obviously focus on various technologies, mainly the Microsoft stack, open source as well, and various other technologies. We use all these technologies and a lot more on a daily basis. If you're into tweeting, you can tweet and mention Triad Group using the @Triad Group PLC. And as we are live broadcasting at Auburn University annual Tech Talks, you could use the hashtag AU Tech Talks as well. If you like what you see, you can also get in touch, but we'll give you some contact details at the end of this presentation. Now I'd like to introduce you Peter. Peter is Microsoft MVP, and he's here today to demonstrate some cool apps within the Microsoft platforms. Hi, Peter.
Hi, George. I'm looking forward to showing these cool apps. We've developed some nice apps that I'm sure will get things moving here. I'm sure everybody will enjoy the apps.
All right.
That show.
All right. So
are you going?
Yes. Show us the cool app.
Okay. Let me share my screen over here. I'll just quickly share my screen over here. This one over there. Present. And you'll see the apps appear in a second as I share my screen. Quick look over there. That should now be loading. So it's my screen. There we go. So I think you should now see the app there. Yep. I think it should all be there. Basically, what we've done is we thought let's create a cool app. And what's cooler than ice cream? The weather, well, last week was really hot over here, well, for UK times.
I think that's why we had ice cream.
Exactly, that's why we had ice creams in mind, exactly. Well, this week, if you look outside at the moment, it just, well, it's pouring. But anyway, we stuck to the ice cream theme. What I've done is we created this little Power Apps app, and we basically use it to order ice creams. So we've got a whole list of ice creams, and you can probably see over here, I'm in Microsoft Teams. So inside Microsoft Teams, I've added a tab over there and created my custom app without any coding. This is a low coding session, or low code application session. And if you look at the app, you can simply click on one of these buttons and you can order an ice cream. Well, I've got two kids, so this morning I asked both of them, which ice cream would you like? Oh, my eldest son, Robin, he said, I like a lemon ice cream. He was trying to catch me out, but we've already got a lemon ice cream. So I said, yeah, no problem. I'll order that lemon ice cream for you. And I click on buy ice cream. It's only $3.49. And I've got another son. I've got Leo as well. And Leo wanted something chocolatey. He's very much into chocolate. So maybe this really big one over there. So bittersweet chocolate ice cream. Click on the link and order it. Okay, this is a little bit of a shop kind of situation where well, we might be out of stock or whatever other reasons we can't deliver. So what we've done is we've created an approval process around it, and that's where Microsoft Flow comes in. So we've got this nice pretty app. You can navigate around, you can find the ice creams that you want, and then an approval process will kick in place. There are multiple ways of these approvals. I had a couple of these approvals happening over here, where you've got an approve button and a reject button, and it's simply from your email. So imagine this can also come in on your mobile phone.
Yeah.
It could even be your Microsoft Flow app on your mobile phone. So click on approve and go, okay, that's all fine. But well, while I wait for that to happen, this has been approved. And you can see here, the ice cream is being delivered. Nice chocolate ice cream. I've also got some lemon ice creams over here. Well, I think that's just not the right thing to do, is it? So I'm going to reject that ice cream.
Yes.
I'm going to say, well, it's too cold. It is too cold.
Yes, because you don't want your ice cream too cold.
No, exactly. You don't want it too cold. That wouldn't be good. So I'm hitting the submit, and again, this is a rejection ice cream, and you get now an email with a reject on it, and it's too cold. And actually, my ice cream just fell on the floor. So that's all. You get different processes depending on the actions taken, and you have the typical approve or rejection kind of process.
So this would work in other scenarios, more business-like, like approving holidays or...
Yeah, you could have an approval of holiday. All it is you enter some data, you have some approval processes, and then something will happen. So that's all good. And so what we've done is you've got the process that you need to put together. This is where I could often say to people where they develop these kind of solutions, think in layers. So you've got your data layer, then you've got next to the data layer, you've got your presentation layer. That would be PowerApps. Data layer could, for example, be SharePoint, could be SQL, could be whatever you like, pretty much. Could be an Excel spreadsheet. PowerApps will be perfectly happy with it. It can connect into all of these kind of applications. In total, if you look at the number of connectors that have been developed, it's already exceeded over 100 connectors. So that you've got lots of things you can connect into. One of those connectors is PowerApps. When later on we look into the technical details, you'll find out how that all works. So what we've got is we've got this process and the Power App. And like I said, thinking layers, data layer, presentation layer, and process layer. Process is your Microsoft Flow. So that's what we should look at here.
Okay, so today we're talking about low code.
Yep.
So Power Apps.
Yep.
So pretty much anyone can come in and develop their own app.
They could do, but you will get a different result depending on who does the job, I think. Where if you get started at PowerApps, I think you need quite a while to really get going with it. It's not that it's complicated, but it just takes time to get familiar with. And I think this is where I think companies like Triad come in, where we can basically help you save that initial time, get going with it, develop the most complicated apps. Also, you find that this app at the moment is quite simple, quite easy, and it's just a single approval. But a couple of years ago, I developed an CapEx system for an organization that needed 12 approvals on every single CapEx form. And sometimes it was 12, but sometimes it was 9, depending on what data people filled in. So CapEx forms that exceeded a certain amount simply meant a finance director had to approve it, where lower amounts, just a team manager could do the approval. And that's where you find it suddenly comes the whole difference, where this approval process, it's not too complicated. But imagine if your 9th person has done the approval, then rejected, and it might have to go back to approver 7 or approver 8 or maybe approver 1, depending on the situation. And maybe even it needs to be resubmitted. So that's where processes become complicated, and that's where I think people who begin with Flow and begin with PowerApps get stuck.
Yes. Okay, I guess this is we could jump into if you could please show us behind the scenes how
PowerApps works.
Was this app created in the flow?
Yeah, I will do. We've got basically limited time within the open sessions. I'll keep it short, but I'm happy to stay a little bit on for longer afterwards if other people have got any more questions going. So what PowerApps works with is screens. So earlier you saw me navigating around. We clicked on these little triangle-y things into the detailed screens, and you can find over here we've got multiple screens. That's how PowerApps works. You've got a detailed screen, and I quickly click on this detailed screen, and you see over here, it's my ice cream, how it's been developed and whatever. You've got a button over here to buy, and when I click on it, you can see over here what's actually behind the button. This is where we are talking, I think, about low code.
Yes.
This is where, it's not complicated, but imagine, well, there's a reason why there's a little drop-down thing over here, because this bit of code over here could become very long and quite often complicated.
Because at the moment, what I see is just some simple logic.
Yeah, exactly. It's just two calls to something. Yes. Where the first bit of this code over here, this bit over here, calls your flow. That's all it does. It calls the flow and it gets on with it. And then we're navigating back to this we're navigating to the thank you screen.
Yes.
And that's all we're doing at the moment. That's quite simple. But imagine that this button had to depend, whatever it does depends on certain values that are filled in. And typically, if you've got approval forms, what you would end up with is, depending on the values, if you go to one person or to another person, you might want to kick off a different flow, maybe or whatever. Yes. And that's where things become a bit more complicated. So if you look over here at the ice cream that we've got, you'll find over here in the buy this ice cream button, we're basically passing a couple of parameters in. So the image we're passing in, and we're passing the title of my ice cream into that flow.
Yes.
And then flow can do something with it. It can do whatever it needs to do. So that is where you can see developing flow. It's not difficult, or developing PowerApps isn't difficult, but it could become difficult at some point. And it's very important that when you set up that initial app, that it's set up in the correct way. If you go in the wrong direction, you will regret it at some point, and you might end up with redeveloping your app.
Yes.
And that's, of course, a waste of time. Getting started straight from the beginning, and if you do that well, then you'll gain your time later on. Okay, so I think that's an initial quick introduction into PowerApps. Yes. So how does PowerApps now talk to Flow?
Yes, that's what we want to find out.
Exactly. So if we look at my flows, I go to my flows in Microsoft Flow, and while that's loading up my flows, I'm going to my team flows, and I've got over here and send an ice cream flow. I'm going to have a look at editing that flow. And this is basically where you can see the whole process. Okay, this is, again, it's a very simple process. But imagine if you had 12 people approving. Yes. What would you do?
It becomes quite complicated.
Exactly, then it becomes a lot more complicated. Then you need to handle a lot of what traditionally you would call spaghetti code. But now you need to create a spaghetti flow, and organizing your spaghetti is quite important. So if you now look at PowerApps, this PowerApps section over here, that's what we call the trigger.
Yeah.
Every single flow starts with a trigger. Every flow has only got one trigger in it. And then you have the rest of your process. So something starts the process, and then something needs to happen.
So give us examples of other triggers.
Other triggers? Well, imagine you've got SharePoint. You create SharePoint, you've got a SharePoint list, and within your SharePoint list, you create a new SharePoint list item. Once you've done that, you would like to create an event in your calendars, for example. Mm-hmm. You could do so. It's quite easy, just a couple of steps. So one thing happens, you want to respond to it, and that's where your flow, within your flow, you need to specify what you want. So in this case, we've got an approval step over here. So we've got an approval step, and all I have to do is configure certain bits. And over here, you can recognize the bits of data that came out of my my PowerApps earlier. Yes. So things that were pushed into PowerApps and are now usable within my flow.
Pass through the click of the button.
Yeah, exactly. So click on the button and I've got the details. And this is where the title that we earlier saw in our emails depends on the data that we've got. So great. But that's not all. We also want to send the emails out. And we want to send different emails depending on the responses. So we've got two responses, either approve or reject. So if it's approve, I want to send an approval email out. When I've got a reject, I want to send a reject email out. And well, that's roughly what we do. So let's have a look at these emails. You can see over here, and you can notice the difference in the subject. Your order was rejected in the rejected email, and the other one, I'm just going to send them the name of the ice cream and the image of the ice cream. So great. Again, it's just a simple logic, and people who are used to a little bit of programming, they will understand that condition is nothing else than just an if.
Yes.
Yep. And then you do something if it's true, or you do something if it's false. And you can go a lot further within flow. You can have, you can organize your flows properly. And again, this is where I think companies like Triad come in, where organizing those flows properly so you can handle the bigger process as well. Because imagine that we now want to have an additional approval in here, or maybe we want to do a check for do we have stock or not, and because we don't need an approval process if there is no stock available. Might as well automate that. Why would you want to do that manually? And this is where we can basically adjust an awful lot. So that's basically how you build the flow, how you develop a flow. The next step is running the flow.
Running the flow.
Okay. So if we look at, we just ran a couple of flows earlier, and if I click on my flow again, I can see over here a run history. And this is where is the big difference between all those SharePoint workflow solutions that we had in the past. Still quite often depended on the workflow history lists, and those history lists lived in your SharePoint sites, and they would grow and grow and grow and grow because, well, you needed a bit of information as to what happened within your flow. That's quite an annoying process, because it means that that list grows and grows, and your site collections grow and grow, and you really don't want that inside SharePoint. What happened with Microsoft Flow is that I can now see my history over here, and it doesn't live in SharePoint. You even find that over here, I haven't even got anything SharePoint. Isn't that quite nice? It's a Power App, it's an approval, and it's over here the my sent emails. There's no history going into the SharePoint stuff, it's SharePoint lists. And you can see over here, everything has been successful. And have you noticed over here, a little grey box, or a grey cross kind of thing, in the reject email? It means that that action didn't run, simply because it was approved. Therefore, we sent the other email out.
So essentially, this is how you debug flow.
Yeah, you can debug, and it's even nicer, because imagine if you're a developer and you want to see what was the input that we got and what was the output that we got. And you can see over here certain things that were spit out by this action over here, and certain bits of data that was received. Lots of JSON stuff in there. If you have an approval, you can see over here. You can see all the data. You can figure out what's happening to your flow, and you can even find what was my response. And this is the way you can build up your flows, and within your flow, you can find out what actually happened. Why did a flow fail? So, for example, over here, I've got a flow that failed. I'm getting alerts of it, and I can then check what has happened to that flow, and I can step through it. I can even resubmit a flow after I fixed it, and those kind of things. So, great product, I think. Then one more thing. We've seen how the Power App can live inside Microsoft Teams. Quite a lot of people want to have the apps in SharePoint. Well, I've created a traditional SharePoint site, and I've added my app over here, and it will do exactly the same. It will still work. I simply click on my app, I buy my ice cream, and it goes back to your thank you screen, and the same process happens.
So does it work as well on Android phones?
Yeah.
iPhones?
Yeah, you can stick it on your phone, and that will just work. You'll even find that at the moment, I have received a couple of approval steps on my phone as well. So it's not just the app that works on your phone, it's also the approval steps.
Yes.
So there's Flow and PowerApps. You can just use it on your phone. I've even tried editing some flows on my mobile phone, and it worked as well. It's a really good, very well developed app and development environment, at least in my experience.
So how did you add the app to SharePoint?
It's just a web part, an out-of-the-box edited web part, and I've added an iframe in there, and then all I did is copy-paste the URL into it.
Okay.
That's so easy, and anybody can do it. And the authentication is all sorted out by Office 365.
Okay. Right. Well, this was it's very interesting. I think we have 5 minutes to the end of the session with Auburn.
Yep.
Which, but as you said, we can continue for a bit longer if there are questions or if anyone wants to talk to us. Let me. So if there are any questions, feel free to. We have Peter here. You'll be here all day.
Well, for a little while.
Now you have to stay.
And we've even unmuted you, so if you,
Okay.
you can even go live on air if you want to. You can open your mic, and that should be okay.
Let's see. We have a thank you. Well, thank you, Joshua.
Yep.
For attending our session.
Thank you, Josh, for giving us some time as well. I think at the Open Tech Talks, it's always nice when we can do these kind of sessions over there.
Well, if you wish to contact us, if you don't have any questions now, but you have some questions later, or if you've come across, if you start using these, developing these type of apps and flows, if you need any help, you can see the contact details on the screen now, so you can contact Peter directly.
Yep.
Or drop him a line on LinkedIn, or visit our website, triad.co.uk. and learn a little bit more about us.
Yeah,
Give us a call.
I'll just quickly add my email address to the conversation, just to make it a bit easier. So you can. I've got something to copy paste. Okay, if there are no questions so far, then I'd like to thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll see you soon again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.